We're back with another podcast. This one is a review of Oktagon 66. I'm joined today by hot property journalist, Mr. Patrick McCorry. And before we get going, just a little message about our sponsor, Hez Boxing Equipment, who helps me cover all these events. So that's greatly appreciated. Go and check out their website for what they have to offer and them on Instagram. How are we doing, Mr. McCorry?
Doing well, man. You're one of few people that actually says my name right in this industry. So, I get McCrory a lot. I get just completely mispronounced, misspelled, even though I have my name on everything. So appreciate it.
No worries, dude. Saturday was a good event. You've been to umpteen Oktagon events now. I think I'm on my 7th or 8th. That was my first time in Germany. It was a good card, wasn't it? It was very good indeed.
It was really good from top to bottom. I think the whole fight card was really good. What was it? 8 out of 11 fights were finishes. So the fans were in it the whole way through. I think only the first fight the arena wasn't filled. So, the German crowd represented themselves well, and the fighters did so as well.
Absolutely. The first fight on the card, now she really did represent herself well. Daniela Mistella, 48 years of age, proving that in some cases, age is just a number. She looked down and out, didn't she, in the first round and midway through the second? And then out of nowhere, she pulled off a rear naked choke and got Luzar Smajic out of there, not turning pro until 40. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's so impressive. And I said it when I wrote the article after the fight. I mean, she weathered the storm there. She was hurt. She was
Yeah.
down bad. She even said in the post-fight interview, she was like, I think I'm going to lose this fight now." She was rocked all over the place. She had wobbly punch-drunk legs, so she was almost out of there. And then she pulls off. I can't remember whether Smajic took her down or she was able to, but there was some sort of scramble. I just remember the scramble and Mistelli getting the better of it. And then I don't think it was a full rear naked choke. It was a bit on the chin. So it was just a complete crank of the face, neck, everything from around there. And it was a very impressive submission. And it took her a minute when she won. The referee pulled her off. It kind of took her a moment. She kind of like stopped for a second, went to give Smash a hug, but her coach had already jumped the cage and gone to hug her. It was a really awesome moment.
It was cool. The crowd loved it, and I'm really pleased for at that age. Like I said, it just shows that in some cases, age is just a number. And moving on to the Solaja brothers, Zoran and Daniel. They both moved to 3-1, taking 2 undefeated records against Lukas Elias and Rafael Federico, respectively. They've got good personality, the Solaja brothers, haven't they? And they're very good talkers, as we've seen in the post-fight press conference. Did you manage to get any content with them after it?
I didn't manage to get any content with them after it just because I wasn't sure if they speak English. Like, obviously, I can do stuff in German, but I just prefer to do stuff in English because for me, it's a bit easier. But then if I'm not sure, like Dennis, I know can speak English, which is why I got him. But the others, I just wasn't sure. Tamerlan, I wasn't sure about that, which is why I asked before that. But it seemed they could speak English, but that both the Salai brothers have witty personalities. They they love to banter, and but what's really cool is like loyalty is clearly such a big factor to them. And they were saying in the post-fight interviews, they were saying, we're not just going to celebrate with each other or our family. Our whole team is our family. We're going for a big dinner and everything. So they eat, sleep, and breathe this sport, and they do so with a massive team and family, as they call it, around them.
Absolutely. And the fan base is growing. We can't find out their ages. So if anybody can give us a clue, because we've looked everywhere, Sherdog Topology, we can't find it. But can either of them be potential stars in the promotion, you think?
I'm definitely they both. I believe they both dropped their first Octagon fights, or at least their most recent Octagon fights. But especially Zoran made quite the statement. And
Yeah.
after I believe he got knocked out in Oberhausen, he comes back and he put Lucas Elias on his heels right away. He pushed him back, and he just was unrelenting. And Lucas Elias is a really, really good counter striker. We saw that in his Octagon debut. His knockout was literally a perfect counter strike. And so Zoran puts the pressure on. He's going, he's going. no fear. He was getting cracked, but he was like, "You can crack me. I'm going to survive, but are you going to survive me cracking you?" And I mean, he knocked him down a few times before the referee saw enough. With that kind of performance, you can definitely make yourself a star. The crowd was all into it from start to finish. While Daniel Solaja, his fight went to decision, I think he showed a good account of himself, at least for the first 2.5 rounds, and then he started to slow down towards the end. But they clearly have captured the Düsseldorf fan base being from there. It's just if if they can keep representing themselves this way and having these performance across the other German cards, they can definitely become stars. If they get to, both of them 7-1 or something like that, 4 wins on in a row, and you keep putting them together on a card, because I think having that, hey, we have brothers on the card, that would build both their stocks up. Obviously, if they're both winning, so they could definitely be stars in this promotion with that brother thing with going with their names.
Absolutely. I think Daniel's win was he had to grind it out in some places. He worn Federico down, and as we know, Federico trains with some of the big boys at SBG in Ireland, so that is a massive win for him. Tamerlan Dulatov, the younger brother of the now UFC star Islam Dulatov, got his debut off to a flyer, didn't he? He didn't even have to throw a punch. 16 seconds in, you predicted it as we was both sat there watching over the cage. You predicted it. It was brilliant. I think it benefited him as well, because he said he had a hand fracture in camp. I don't know if it was a slight fracture or whatever, but it needs surgery this week. Now, he is one that they will definitely look to build into a star, won't they, brother?
Oh, 100%. And I mean, it obviously that Duotov name is a famous name. They have a really big YouTube channel here. And even I was at the gym, was it yesterday? My friend, he comes to me, he goes, "You're in the latest Dulatov brothers video." I was like, "What do you mean?" And he shows me, and there's me and there's Scott. I was like, "Oh yeah, great."
Cool.
Um, they're really, really good at marketing themselves. And so Octagon doesn't really have to do much work when marketing them, because they've done it themselves. I mean, it's pretty cool to have two brothers who were models for the biggest brands, and now, I mean, they're putting people out cold.
Mm.
Islam and Tamerlan now. And also, both of them speak really, really good English, which is such an important tool. I think it's something that's underestimated in today's fights, because most people, even the international fan base, they would watch, maybe, like, for example, you're American, right? And you're watching Octagon and everyone's speaking German, but then you go on an interview and you hear him speak English. Now you know what he's talking about. He broke his hand and everything. And I mean, he articulated it really, really well, I thought.
Absolutely. I think you're spot on there about being international and using the English language, because a few of them are quite reluctant to learn it. But when you're under a fast-growing promotion like Oktagon, who are trying to expand to, I won't say all corners of the world just yet, but they are trying to expand in further regions, then that's good. The one fight that I didn't catch, I don't know where it was for this, Mr. Ale TKO win over debutant Victor Kovac. So I couldn't really comment on too much about that. Did you? I don't think you caught it on the night either,
No, I
did
was backstage with Tamerlan. So I believe as I finished my interview, the crowd went nuts because Amir finished the fight. So I'm afraid I can't comment on it, but from what I heard, it was pretty dominant. So,
you?
and it's good for him. Amir Canal back on the winning side of things, back in the green, as they say. Green, not only talking about the money he gets for the fight, but also, it's a big green W next to his name. So I'm sure he appreciates that.
Absolutely. Now, Kajavand, I don't know if I've fumbled his name there. He defeated late replacement Kennedy Rayomba by round one knockout. He advances to the lucky loser voting stage now in this season's Game Changer. It was a great performance. Good work, acknowledged by several people on Instagram, mainly Mr. Fleury afterwards. He certainly staked his claim to get the fans' vote in the lucky loser, hasn't he?
Oh, 100%. You deliver a knockout like that. I mean, no one can call you a loser. I think you changed that name to Lucky Winner, right?
Yeah.
He knows how to market himself. He was very funny in the post-fight interviews, and he he didn't mention it, but I feel like he thought he might have been disrespected, because I believe he was supposed to fight Camille on his shook, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I wonder if he feels any disrespect. Like, but I do think him and Engizek train together or have been around each other, so maybe that's why, or they come from the
Okay.
same management group. But I mean, he's definitely staking his claim for why he maybe should be in the tournament itself, not just a reserve bout or in the lucky losers. I mean, that was a nasty knockout. It was a big overhand. And shout out to Kennedy Royamba. He's got 100% finish rate. He comes into the promotion, sort of nothing to lose.
Hmm.
But in that, you lose with the first round knockout. You lose a little bit, right? So sad to see, a newcomer fall, but it was a picture perfect knockout. You can't really say much else than that. It was a perfect right overhand, I believe, and just finish the job right there. But I missed it. So do you remember?
Oh,
I was
oh.
I was looking at my laptop. I believe that was at the point where Adesanya got knocked out by Imavov, and I reacted to that because I missed that as well. So that's the thing. So I was watching the fight. I look down and I see Izzy's out on the canvas. I look back up and Royamba's out. I'm just like, I've missed both of them. How can I react to them? I had to wait for the replay to run,
A keeper with a unanimous decision win over Kahoot. Now, that was a great back and forth fight. That a keeper called for a rematch with Matthew Bonner afterwards. However, Matt has signed with another European promotion, TBA. Now, he's not ranked in the top 10, a keeper, but there are many names in and around them rankings. Now, let's play matchmaker. Who would we like to see him in there with?
He's a welterweight, right?
That fight was at welterweight. I'm not sure if he fought Bonner at welterweight or middleweight, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, he's going to be campaigning now at welterweight.
Yeah, hang on. Let me pull up some rankings real quick because I don't know the welterweight rankings off the top of my head. But there are definitely some fun fights. I mean, that's a division that's fun for sure.
Well, it's
Um,
wide open, isn't it?
yeah, no, it is. I mean, Andrei Kalashnik, I believe, has just been announced fighting Cortez. Is that correct? I believe he's been announced for the card in what was it, April?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
Niklas Stolze is fighting in Stuttgart. That's a fight you could push for if you want an all-German fight. I'm not sure if those two train together or not. Or do you want to push him up and look at maybe the loser of or even winner of the Pukac against Cosma fight?
That's a very good shout. That actually, that's a
Because
high
Pukac
stake.
isn't ranked and uh, Cosma is at number 6. So a win for either guy doesn't really push them up the rankings. So you've still got Cosma on a little bit of his skid of recent. Then you've got a slowly starting to streak Pukac. I believe that would make it 2 or 3 wins in a row. You could definitely market that fight. Pukac has some fans out in Germany after his
Absolutely.
fight with Christian Jungwirth. And then he has lots of international appeal. Sead Akipa's got a big crowd. So I think a Pukac Akipa fight is a good fight for both guys to gauge, are they top 10 kind of guys, or are these guys that have fun fights but stay outside of the rankings?
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with that. Rob Pukac, give me that all day long. I think he's been on a bit of an upturn, hasn't he? He had a good win against Amari Derdrick, but the experience shown with that. So I think a keeper versus Pukac, that's a good call. That now Dennis Ilbai, he had a fantastic win over Vladimir Lengar. He's ranked at number 7 now. Now let's play matchmaker again. Now there is some really interesting names here because we spoke about this on the evening.
We talked about this before at the event, and I think that every time we mentioned a fighter, we were like, "Ooh!" So I think you match up Dennis Ilbai with the homeless guy down the street, at the corner. You're like, "Oh, that's a good fight as well." That's just Dennis Ilbai. That's how he fights.
Yeah.
He has a good fight against anyone. So you can match him up with anyone in the top 5. I think the Holzer fight is the obvious one that everyone kind of wants to see, with Holzer ranked at number 5. As far as that, though, it seems Ilbai's just kind of like what he told me in our interview is like, I never got a contract to fight Holzer. Holzer says I'm ducking it. I've never got a contract. I will fight Holzer if they give me a contract. So is it a thing of the timing hasn't worked out for both those guys, or does Octagon want that fight at all? Are they trying to build it up maybe for an all German main event? Maybe close the year with that fight, winner that number 1 contender fights Losan Keita, or Nico Samsonidze is bouncing around. He's got a fight in 3 weeks, so there's a lot of options. Magomashayev just beat Hendon. I mean, that featherweight division, Losan Keita is spoiled for choice for his next title defense.
Absolutely. And Torres as well, Samuel Bark. The names are relentless, aren't they? I'd love to see him in any of those matchups because, as you said, Patrick, you could have him with the homeless guy down the street, and you know that it's just going to be absolute fireworks. And
It's gonna be a barn burner.
speaking of barn burners and fireworks, Mate Penaz returned after a year hiatus due to the dispute with promoters after Kinsella dropping out from the title fight at number 58. He looked brilliant, Penaz, for the 2 minutes that he had to do his work. However, for the few minutes that Zavada had him up on the cage will give future opponents in the Game Changer tournament plenty to potentially exploit his weaknesses. But that's easy saying that, and then you get in there with Penaz, who will control the cage, control the distance, and he can throw kicks from meters away and they can still land. But in terms of performance, what did you fully make of it? Did you think it was Penaz back to his usual self, or have you seen many weaknesses in there like I have?
I wouldn't call it weaknesses. It's opponents make fights, right? And Zavada's a guy who grinds and he works hard, but he's finishable. You know, he when he loses, he does sadly get finished. And I think it was a matchup that Penaz was always going to win. I feel like Zavada could have held him for 7 minutes, and in the 8th minute, a head kick would have landed, or a similar finish to what we saw. I always felt like it was inevitable that Penaz was going to pull that off. But in saying that, as you said, I think other contenders in this Tipsport Game Changer tournament are like, hey, I can push him up against the cage. I can hold him there. You know, I can make him work. Let's see what he looks like 14 minutes into this fight, and he needs a minute to get that finish. But there's also people say that with Alex Pereira and Tom Aspinall. Hey, let's make them work for it. Let's take them down, make it work. You know, how will he look in minute 22 of the fight? No one gets there.
Mm-hmm.
No one gets past that. No one can beat Penaz. Okay, he's got one loss, but you know what I mean. No one can take him there because he finishes them. So all this talk of weaknesses and stuff is great. I can say I can take down Lex Pereira. I'm going to get a left hook to the face at some point, and I'm going down. Like
Yeah.
there is that with Mate Penaz as well. It feels like this inevitable aura of he's going to finish the fight.
Absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Maybe I was a bit strong in using the word weaknesses. Maybe just things that they can exploit. But as we say,
yes,
it's just that one moment with Penaz, the head kick, the body shots, the vicious, aren't they? They're absolutely vicious. Lom Ali Eskiev, the co-main event, and the crowd played up to him. He's well liked there. And he fought late replacement Wanderlei Jr., whose stock went absolutely through the roof. And he gave us as good as he could have hoped for. I think the levels shown. But you spoke to him before and after. Am I right in saying that?
yes, yeah. Vanderlei is a lovely guy. When I talked to him in the hotel, I asked him if he was free to do an interview, and he said he didn't trust his English for a longer period of time. His English is excellent. In that post-fight interview, he really gave his thoughts out. Even I think I think when I asked the question, Pavel heard him speaking like perfect English, and it was just kind of like he speaks. So, you know, I think I've frozen on the video now, but in that, you know, he wins himself a contract or loses the fight, but wins himself a new contract. So, you know, it's an exciting time to be Vanderlei Jr. You lose 3 fights in a row, but you sign with a major promotion, and now you get a chance in your weight class. Lomali Eskiev pushes himself towards the title,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but you said the crowd lived up to it. They fought up to it as well. They were fighting next to the cage.
Yeah. It nearly went sour in the crowd. But to be fair, I thought Oktagon dealt with that really well, and they have had some stick in the past for how they've dealt with people kicking off in the crowd. So yeah, I was pleased that it got dealt with quite quickly. In terms of the lightweight division, if Keita relinquishes the belt, who would Eskiev fight?
Let me pull up my rankings again.
And yeah, it's another really interesting division because we're all basically just waiting on what Keita is going to do. Well, whether he stays at featherweight or at lightweight.
I think the obvious answer would be Agi Zadari. Coming off his performance, he called for the rematch with Losan Keita. I think people are forgetting that he gave Keita a really tough fight. I would be interested in that rematch. And then you've also got Ronnie Paradiser in there. I think Eskia, if the title goes vacant, either of those matchups, those are fun matchups. Those are, main events that you can put on in a stadium show, because you got the German fans coming in with SDF, and you've got the Eastern European fans coming in with Ronnie Paradiser. Where Zadari falls, I'm not sure with that. I'm not sure how big his fan base is, but I do think he's a dark horse in the division because he gave Keita a really tough fight, and he could definitely find himself in a title fight here soon.
Absolutely. It leaning towards Paradiser, isn't it? If likelihood comes out that Keita does relinquish the belt, then Paradiser is definitely next in line.
Or you throw Shamrock in. Or you throw Shamrock in, right?
Or Shem, yeah. Or our boy Shem, of course, yeah. Absolutely. I just think that they'll want to make the... who was he scheduled to fight on the 29th? Was it Jack or... Was it Bannock? Or
it was Bannock, yeah. But I think Shem told me that he was going to fight Estiev on this card. I think I can pull up that text. Hang on. Let me pull up this text. I think I asked him who he was fighting. He said, your man Estiev.
Oh, lovely.
No. Did he say it to me on Instagram? I think he might have said it on the interview. Okay. I can find that clip for you if you want it, if it's in the interview. Okay. I believe he was meant to fight on that February card against Eskiev.
Oh yeah, he did, because he said the same thing to me. He got offered the main event.
Yeah,
I just don't know if the timings worked out wrong or if he was still healing.
Timing didn't work out with his injury, so he had to decline it.
Yeah, unfortunately, but that's not like Shamrock to decline it. But he was pushing his way through in training, Shem. So that's unfortunate we didn't see that fight, and hopefully it might be on the cards next. The main event, hometown hero Kerim Engizek defeated. I'm not going to try and fumble his name. I'm going to try and fumble it.
Onishuk.
That's the one.
I think so.
He won every round clearly, and the pro football crowd, the ultras, they all soaked it in. I just think what you see is what you get with Engizek: the low kicks, the quick combinations, the jabs. But I still think he's one of the favourites in the game changer.
I think it's an eventuality that either Engizek or Penaz win, and I think they'll have to fight each other for that. I do think that will be a final match. Well, obviously, we have the draw, so you never know with that. But it was a clean performance for Engizek, and it's tough to have a fight on 2 days' notice. There's not much you can find for a guy, So he probably went back. He gets the fight. I believe it was announced Friday 4:00-ish, that kind of time. So he's sitting there kind of waiting for that fight. Now he gets that fight. Now it's kind of like, okay, now I have to prep for a guy that I'm fighting tomorrow in a locked cage in front of 15,000 people and my home crowd, let alone. It's a tough fight, and Onishuk kind of came into that fight. I feel like he said he had a lot to lose. I don't feel like he had anything to lose because he's coming in on a day's notice fighting the champion of the weight class. And frankly, he showed a good account of himself. In that, Engizek had a lot to lose, just wins the title. Now he's in the tips for game changer, but his belt isn't on the line, but he could lose in his weight class, which kind of makes it like, so he's not the champion anymore, but he is. The champion will not want to lose that belt or want to lose the status of the best middleweight in the world in Oktagon, and he's trying to show that with that. He showed it. I mean, it was a clean performance. He didn't take too many risks until the third round when Onishuk was tired. And he fought a good fight, entertained the crowd, and he took very minimal damage. So he'll be on to the next one pretty soon, I reckon.
Absolutely. I think he dealt with any potential pressure really well because, as you said, it didn't get announced until 4:00 Friday. So I think I've seen him weigh in. He's done everything he's needed to, and he's still sat there. He's in his own head. He's not sure who he's fighting or what's going on. So it can play on your mind a little bit, especially with preparation. But all in all, the card was extremely good. Like I said, it was my first trip to Germany, and it was a pleasure to be alongside you, taking care of me as usual. But they've got a stacked schedule ahead. The next event is in Trinec. I don't know if I fumbled that because we keep fumbling that one between us.
I have no idea how to say it at all.
But Sam Creasy, flyweight champion, versus Adama. Now, that's a tasty matchup. Very high stakes for the flyweight.
Lovely matchup.
Lovely. David Cosmo versus Robert Pukac, as we have previously mentioned. That's another high stakes matchup for both. And Petrostek versus Mick Stanson. There's lots of fun and high stakes on that card. And looking a bit more ahead, we have even more UK and Irish interest from my side, well, kind of your side as well, over the next month. Do we see them return to these shows, potentially Dublin with Fleury headline, and then we've got names like Dennis Frimpong, Jack Maguire, and a few others like that? Do you think they're thinking about it now?
I hope so. As an Irishman, I hope so. I think during the Prague event, me and you were both going up the Irish, and we want to see Irish MMA blossom, and we see it with Paul Hughes. We see what kind of fan base he can draw. You've got Will Fleury potentially becoming a double champ. You've got Dennis Frimpong, who is a star, even though his record doesn't reflect it. He's a star. He brings in social media attention. He talks the talk, and mostly he walks the walk. Even in his loss to George Staines, he fought a good fight. Mm-hmm. Do I think it's in the cards this year? No. I think we have kind of the plan for Oktagon this year with mostly German cards. And then, I don't know why, but they're going to a lot of these little Czech cities. We've got Tiernek. We've got, I can't remember the name of the one in April. I don't really want to butcher it, but here, hang on. I'll give it a go.
Carlo Valari or something like that, is it?
Yeah. Okay, that's not bad. I thought it was tougher. So, I think we have the Oktagon plan for the rest of this year. But in saying that, I think we have up to June. So they have that stadium show in Prague, the Eden show, and then you're kind of looking like, okay, beyond that, are they going to hit more football stadiums for us? Are they? They have to do something after you end the year on the note of Frankfurt football stadium, the new arena in Munich, and then that massive show in Prague. You have to continue that momentum. I think they've done a good job with that with the Düsseldorf fight. But now you have to keep ticking off the boxes. It kind of has to keep getting better, right? You have to keep going up, or you're going to stay on a gradual, just, linear, not going too far. You're going a little comfortable. That's what people will start to say. That's what they're saying with the UFC staying in the apex. So they want to keep expanding. You want to be the promotion that's hitting the stadium shows. You look at Dublin, I believe they've got decent sized stadium there. You could throw an event if you want to knock off another stadium show. I heard they were in talks with the Düsseldorf football team for a potential event out there. That stadium, you visited that stadium, right?
Yeah, I was there on Saturday, and that was what was pleasing, that a lot of the fans that spoke to at the football was all going to back Engizek. So they all take to their own fighters, don't they? And they've really took to Oktagon. It's just gone absolutely through the roof. But as you said, like, they need to keep the ball rolling now. I think they absolutely did that in Dusseldorf. I think Stuttgart's 95% sold out. And we've got the Eden again. I'd love for them to make that a bit of something like set in stone every year, similar to what they do on the 29th of December, because they always produce them shows. Maybe I'm with you. I'm hopeful, and really I'm hopeful that they can do something in Dublin in the second half of this year. However, if not, then they will look to do it next year, because like we said, they've got the stars there now. I will always back Dennis Frimpong. I think he's an absolute superstar. I think that in a lot of his fights, he's been matched relatively well. Callum Mullen, who was the other one in Birmingham? What was it? No, it's Mullen in Birmingham, and who was it in Newcastle? The name is leaving.
It's escaped me. Yeah, it's escaped me.
But
Dennis is gonna be so mad if he's watching this, and two guys that
going to be
talk to
fuming.
him like regularly.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a tip off of him when I see him next. I'm gonna catch a really nasty one. Was Jan Siraki.
Jan Soroka, that's it. That's the one. But yeah, I believe in Dennis. I'm a big believer in Dennis, and I think Oktagon have got a potential superstar there with a few.
Robin Frank is a good test for it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Undefeated guy.
We can do a bit more of an intense preview coming up, because I am going to get Dennis on. I speak to Dennis quite regular, as you do, so we'll definitely get him on and get loads of content coming up. But yeah, the schedule is absolutely stacked. So before you go stateside in 6 months or something like that, is it? Then
I'm hoping we'll see if this politics keeps getting funny. It might change, but I'm not political. I'm not getting into that. But you never know. Things change. Things happen. So
absolutely.
You never know.
Well,
that is the plan right now, but it could change next month, and I could be living in the Czech Republic for all we know. So.
yeah, things can change very quickly. But Patrick, thank you very much for joining me this evening, and it was a pleasure to see you in Germany again. And as I was saying, I hope to see you again a lot more before you do eventually go out stateside.
Yeah, man, I appreciate the time. Thank you for having me, and I hope we can do this again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Keep up the great work, brother, and I will speak to you again soon. Don't forget, everybody, like, subscribe, all that good stuff.